world is changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it. De los Estados Unidos de America is changing. My fellow gringos.
Maybe the COVID hysteria has worn off. Maybe the fact Big Mac combos are twice as expensive. Maybe the virtue signaling women of 10 years ago are reaching middle age and are spent. Whatever the case may be, it's unprecedented what has happened in recent months. The apparatus preventing people from speaking their minds, intent on subversion, has been rendered powerless since X, a mainstream platform, removed most censorship around naughty words and forbidden topics. And all it took was the richest man in the world to break ranks. I'm speaking, of course, about the United States because in Europe, the noose is tightening. In the United Kingdom, all mainstream search engines are now on child safety mode that cannot be changed, except for Yandex, I might add. And sites like Gab, BitChute, RT, and 4chan have been banned by the government and or IPs. In France, Rumble is blocked. And for some of these, you cannot even bypass this censorship with a VPN. We've had a decade of tightly controlled and manipulated speech on big tech social media platforms, but they have seemed to loosen the reins over the past several months, and ideas are re-emerging. And they are the same ideas as they've always been. But these ideas were simply slapped with the stamp, "Content has been removed for violating community guidelines." And over the past several years, most people have just moved on after accepting that big tech were the ones to tell them what they could and could not talk about. But a seismic shift is happening on both sides of the Atlantic, even with the enhanced censorship in Europe, in terms of obedience to long enforced cultural narratives. People are rejecting the gaslighting and publicly expressing what their lying eyes have been observing for decades. And the backlash is growing. If I wanted to make a metaphor, it's like when everyone at work huddles around the water cooler and says, "Has anyone noticed that the new guy isn't cutting it?" And everyone around that same water cooler nods, relieved they're not the only one thinking so. And in just a very quick segue, just like rejecting false narratives and thinking for yourself, why not take charge of your own health and your own vitality? And what am I talking about? Cocoa flavanols that boost heart health and brain cell regeneration. It's backed by Harvard's Dr. William Li, and it's not nonsense, it's real science, and shows that these compounds in cocoa are powerful yet often overlooked. But let's let him explain it.
Well, clinical studies have been done with high flavanol cocoa to show that in men who are in their 60s with heart disease, they could actually just have 2 cups of dark chocolate hot cocoa a day for a month. Yeah. And they doubled the amount of stem cells in their bloodstream, and their circulation improved measurably. And then what's even more important and impressive is that there was a study called the Cosmos study that was completed recently that showed that eating high flavanol cocoa decreases the risk of cardiovascular death.
Yeah.
Right? Over a period
like
of
a statin.
Like a statin.
Right.
Exactly. Except made with by eating the same thing that you use to make chocolate. So we're not telling people to go out to have chocolate, which is a confection, which has got a lot of sugar and all kinds of other stuff in it. Yeah. But it's the stuff underneath it, the core of it.
That's right. Dark chocolate's flavanols are great, but lost when processed. Lucky you, Black Forest Supplements now has a high flavanol cocoa powder at only 20 calories and tastes awesome in things like coffee or shakes. It clears brain fog, ups your energy, and boosts stem cells. Hollywood elites, for their part, are dropping insane amounts of money for stem cell injections. Just look at the Golden Globes, where A-listers got $40,000 in stem cell facelifts in their gift bags. Remember, being your own man starts with strength and sharpness, and supplements like the new cocoa flavanols help you take charge. And I myself have felt the change. So here's the deal. I've got an exclusive offer with the guys at Black Forest Supplement that'll give you 40% off for the next 48 hours. But this stuff does sell out quickly. You've only got one you, so be the best you. So hit that link in the description or pinned comment to stock up while you can. For over a decade, the far left, for a lack of a better label, the far left has shaped the social narrative through academia, media, and tech. Think enforced guilt, cancel culture, and language policing. Ideas that have dominated controlled discourse. Social media algorithms amplified and astroturfed establishment-approved voices while sidelining dissent. On Twitter, or X, where draconian censorship is mostly absent, the backlash against these enforced values burns brightest. On this backlash, I can think of 3 examples over the past month or so that exemplify this. First, the British journalist with a degree in English, Douglas Murray, who on the Joe Rogan podcast humiliated himself and probably ended his career and was then torched on X. Well, why was he? Because he felt disgust at even having to speak down to the unwashed masses. And then there was, or should I say, is the ballad of Shiloh Hendricks, who in an argument used slurs against a child. She was doxxed, threatened, and an attempt was made to publicly humiliate her. She then proceeded to receive hundreds of thousands of dollars from thousands of supporters via a crowdfunding campaign. And finally, there's Kanye West, who is no stranger to controversy, as he just released his new song with lyrics that include the name of a certain Austrian painter, a name that cannot even be spoken, even in the context of musical art, and thus saw his new song banned immediately. I should say that music videos on any manner of grotesque depravity and obscene language, including the hard R, are just A-OK on sites like YouTube, though. Thus, in a way, proving Kanye's point at what he calls society's hypocritical language rules. Agree with Kanye or not, he is a symptom of a broader revolt, and it's not just fringe, it's a cultural uprising, rooted in the desire for such simple things as a functional country, secure borders, affordable living, and leaders who prioritize their citizens rather than NGOs, global organizations, and institutions. But let's be objective and not only follow the money, but the power it wields. The current intermission of online freedom, at least on X, well, it does feel unsustainable to me at least. Platforms, yes, are currently loosening their rules, besides YouTube, that is. But the question does linger. Who's really pulling the financial strings behind this throwback to the 90s and early 2000s digital Wild West? In my humble opinion, this is being allowed as it benefits the ruling elite, in some ways to exacerbate all kinds of social tensions in America and beyond. They're fine with it because there's no actual or viable solution to the problem. So spotlighting the problem can only drive further demoralization and division in an already submissive and cowed society, and thus deflect from larger and more substantial ones. For their part, those that relentlessly wish to deconstruct civilization, well, they are also waking up to the fact that they are a political minority, and their opponents are far more numerous and mainstream than they thought. But of course, that doesn't stop them from spewing their nonsense like some kind of relentless idiocy machine on a loop. However, they no longer have the NGO-funded massive bot and sock puppet army, as well as networks to amplify their narrative to create the false impression that everyone agrees with them, and making it seem as though the whole world supports their depravity and their deliberate attempt to collapse civilization. Questions like, why is the country getting poorer? Why has inflation been allowed to get to where it is today, and who profits? Why is the country becoming less safe and not like the place I grew up in? Who is instituting the online censorship regime? Who is actually in control of the country? And who are those demanding that the loudest voices be shut down? These are the more dangerous questions for the establishment, and it makes sense that they are now allowing pushback on social issues like gender, immigration, and identity, as these issues do not threaten power. Actually, they help divert people from recognizing it. To learn who rules over you, simply find out who you're not allowed to criticize. While this quote is falsely attributed to Voltaire online, and despite its murky and lowbrow origins, the quote does still carry some resonance, as when you understand this, you will find out just how far the current pendulum swing will really be allowed to go. In fact, this current backlash could just be controlled, venting off the social steam until the next round of deconstruction, while deeper frustrations continue to bubble beneath the surface, and expressing them will still and is still very much verboten. In a way, I think things have already gone too far, and that social balance, if it can ever be found again, will look nothing like it did in the pre-Obama era. Thus, equilibrium will be a very large social anxiety for probably decades to come. In the end, and it must be said, we are on the edge of some kind of cultural tipping point, and the pendulum is swinging. But what would this shift bring? Chaos, a new balance, or something else entirely? Or just be shut down once again, as it has been for the last 10 years or so? Share me your thoughts in the comments section below, and I should say thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up on your way out. Also remember to check out Black Forest's flavonol supplements for a better you. You only have one you, so make it the best you. Links, of course, are in the description. And with that, I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.